What's up, metalheads? Alright, a little too excited for this. Now, okay, so I'm gonna be here talking about my top 5 beginner black metal albums. A lot of people really come to me wanting to get into black metal, but they can't. They always say that it's just too rough on their ears, which is true. So that's why I'm doing this. Now, the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna give like a little mini review of each album and sample to you my favorite moments off of the album. That way you can get kind of a taste of the tone of the album. Yes, I hope that those of you who want to start your journey into black metal can get a lot of help from this, because black metal is tough to get into. I remember when I was first beginning into metal, black metal was always the tough one. Now, before I give you my recommendations, you need to understand how to listen to black metal first, okay? Black metal is not necessarily pleasing to the ear. So it can be, but it's not meant to be. So because of that, you can't go into black metal expecting some really cool, nice guitar tones and, really nice catchy riffs and something, melodic that you can kind of sway to or move to. It's not what black metal's for. Black metal is something that's more on the artsy side rather than the pleasing side. So what makes black metal is simply the art that it is expressing. And for the most part, it's horror, or it's very dark themed. Because of that, it's meant to really take you where they're trying to take you. So if some albums are singing about winter, that's the theme, a very harsh, cold winter. And so when you listen to the album, it's gonna feel like you're going through a harsh winter, which isn't necessarily pleasing, but it's awesome. Let's get into my 5 recommendations. So my number 1 for beginners is going to be First Spell by Gehenna. Or am I saying that right? Yeah, Gehenna. And this is a black metal album that I would say you should start with, more so than any of the other ones that I'm going to request. The reason being is that this album is very simple. It actually is more pleasing to the ear. It's not complex. There's not much to digest and take in. The whole album is very short. It runs at 26 minutes and 47 seconds. So this album is a very fantasy themed adventure in, back into medieval times. This album feels like a very dark but epic quest. And honestly, when I first heard this album, it was on repeat for a while. This album gets very catchy. It's very, like I said, pleasing. Because of that, I do request this for beginners, and I will say this is more so for beginners than anything else that I'm going to request. Now I'm going to sample you my favorite moment off of the album. And this is off of the song The Conquering of Hissir. Alright, so here it is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's even got those like organs, I think that is. Okay. I'm enjoying this too much. The sample's running longer than I intended it to be. Okay, but that is, one of my favorite moments off of the album. It's just, really, it just has a nice simple rhythm. It's got a simple melody with the organs. The guitars are rough. The vocals, they just make sense with everything. I really like it. So check that one out. Okay, and the next one is going to be the album that got me to get into black metal, and that is Satyricon Dark Medieval Times. The reason why I put this on here is simply, this album doesn't make sense to be on this list, but I put it here because it's the album that got me to understand black metal. It's the one that got me to get into it, so maybe it'll help you get into it. Now, however, that being said, this album is actually very rough on the ears, so it's not necessarily pleasing, but it's incredibly atmospheric. It's incredibly dark, troublesome. It sounds so, what am I trying to say here? It sounds so much like a struggle. You know what I mean? And I really like that. I really enjoyed the dramatic, dark theme of just kind of enduring and going through this struggle. Like one song on here is called "Into the Deep Dark Forest," and that just sounds awesome. And the sound of it sounds like, you're going into this deep dark forest. It's pretty freaking scary, and I like it. So that being said, I'm going to show you now my favorite moment off of the album. This is from a song called Dark Medieval Times, and I just really like this part right here, so check it out. Oh god. How can you not headbang to this? Seriously. That's my favorite moment off of the album. Honestly though, the whole album is very good. Now, I like that because of the intensity, like I said, the sound of just despair and struggle in a very dramatic and presentable way in terms of storytelling and atmosphere. I love it. I really do. I like it. So that's why that is my recommendation for beginners, because that's the album that really allowed me to feel what black metal's about. It's the album that I listened to it and it made me realize that, hey, I was listening to black metal wrong the whole time. You're supposed to feel it. And that's the album that did it for me. So anyways, moving on to the next recommendation. So the next album that I would recommend beginners is going to be, what is this called? I always call this something else. Just bear with me. Okay. Storm of the Light's Bane by Dissection. I always want to call it like Winter's Bane or like Stuck in the Bane of Winter or something like that. But anyways, the album is called Storm of the Light's Bane, and this is by Dissection. Now this album is actually a black metal classic. This is a very important piece to black metal history, and honestly, there's a reason to it. Listen to this. Now it is very chaotic. It is kind of hard to understand what's happening, but once you adjust your ear to it, which, please try. Once you adjust your ear to it, I mean, this album is phenomenal. It's full of just melodic, memorable, original, and unique sounds, as well as riffs and rhythms. This album is also very cold, which is what makes me want to call it a winter album, because, when you throw this album on, I'm telling you, you don't need an air conditioner. In the summertime, don't waste your money on an air conditioner. Just throw on this album and the temperature will drop. That being said, I'm going to now show you my favorite moment off of the album, which is off of the 5th track, and it's called Retribution / Storm of the Light's Bane. Now here it is. Super epic riffs right here. Dude, love it. Okay. That is just awesome. I just gotta say that. Way too awesome, way too epic. I will probably not pronounce this right because this is from a band from Norway and the album is in Norwegian. Okay. Now I don't speak Norwegian, so I don't know how to pronounce this, but this is by the band Horna. The album is Perima Vihasa. It's got a picture of, it's got a really cool picture of like this icy mountain and then this knight on a horse, a black knight on a horse holding up an axe in the moonlight. It's incredibly epic. You can't see the actual knight, it's a silhouette and you can just see little details of him through the moonlight that's shining down on this freezing earth. Now it looks awesome, okay? And this album really is kind of epic, and the reason why this is a beginner album, I would say, is simply because this is really simple. It's really easy to digest, just like First Spell, but this is a little more raw. It's more on the like rougher, not pleasing to the ears kind of side, so it'll at least let you be able to dive into that. Now that being said, here's my favorite moment off of the album, and this is from a song. Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Just this is my favorite moment off of the album. Okay. That's it, just that little bit. It's pretty awesome, I think. But yeah, the whole, that was really short, so let me show you another, the intro of the album, and this is the only one in English. It's called A Ring to Rule. Now, I'm assuming he's talking about Lord of the Rings, I don't know, but it sounds really cool, so check this out. Yeah, so there's that. I really like how melodic that was, you know. So, because of that, because of the really easily humming along to of the album, I'm requesting that for beginners. Lastly, I am going to request my top black metal album of all time. This is my favorite, and I request this to beginners simply because this album has really good production. So as a first-time listener, you don't have to suffer through the harsh, raw production. You know what I mean? Which is a part of black metal, but this album doesn't have it, so it's not there as an obstacle. And also, this is very melodic. It's very catchy and very unique as well. I mean, this has an operatic kind of female in the background. This is a space album, but at the same time it's fantasy, so it's like a space fantasy thing. Now you definitely feel the space fantasy that it is. This album to me is a masterpiece. I don't have a favorite moment. Every moment is my favorite. But I will show you one of my favorites, and it's going to be my current favorite, like the one that I'm just currently into right now. From a song called Bringer of the Sixth Sun, which sounds awesome, okay? Bringing a sixth sun, like come on now. Notice how clean this sounds? Notice the melody? See, they've even got a little like keyboard in there. That should show you the contrast of the female and the male vocals. I don't know if you were paying attention to that. They even do some operatic, like this. Here, check this out. This is off of the first song. This is the introduction of the album. You can hear that more operatic from the female vocal. Got the keyboard in the back. That album, this one, Nexus Polaris by Covenant, I think this is a masterpiece. It's very complex. I mean, a ton of time signature changes, a lot of progression. At the same time, it doesn't go overboard or go over the top. It's just where it needs to be. The musicianship here is just done flawlessly and beautiful. The way they contrast instruments, you know, the way they bring in newer instruments at times. The pacing of the album, just all of it as a whole, is flawless. Like I said, this is actually my all-time favorite black metal album. This is not raw traditional black metal. This is just what's known as melodic black metal. And I'm not too much of a fan of melodic black metal. I am, but I'm more of a raw traditional black metal guy. But this album just takes a spot just because of just how well crafted it is. I really like the addition of the female operatic vocals. So that being said, there's my top 5 recommendations for people who want to get into black metal. I hope that was helpful. If not, then I don't know what to listen to, okay? Because black metal is just tough to get into in the first place. So thank you, and I will see you guys later.